Hey everybody, Norm here. Before we start this episode of Still Untitled, I want to thank the sponsor this week, and that sponsor is Blue Apron. Blue Apron knows that when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals. So they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. Whether it's Japanese ramen noodles, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, or heirloom tomatoes, Blue Apron is bringing you the best. And for less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients, that's my favorite part, to make delicious home-cooked meals. Check out this week's menu and get 2 meals free by going with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/untitled. That's the name of this podcast. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. Again, that's blueapron.com/untitled. And now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
You got your bat fleck there with that one. I have to say, I'm kind of surprised at the shirt today, Adam.
Oh, Batman versus Superman. This is the best part of the whole franchise right here.
Is that logo? Is that even from the new film?
I have no idea.
It's not. It's not.
I think Thing 2 picked this up for me at Comic-Con last year.
Oh, so I lightly licensed.
Shirt. Yeah, exactly. And I actually, I'm not wearing it because of the logo. I'm wearing it because it's a nice shirt. I like it.
I favor nice shirts all the time now over, it doesn't matter what's on it.
Yeah.
It's comfy. It's got to be comfy.
I have to say, somebody gave me a shirt, like a shot shirt at an event a few weeks ago, and it is the softest shirt, like t-shirt I've ever gotten. It's a Canvas is the brand.
Oh, okay.
And it was so comfortable. I put it on. I was like, wait, I got to see who made it. Like this is, I've never felt a shirt like this before.
I did the same thing when I visited Google X. Their shirts are printed on impossibly soft jersey.
If you've watched our videos and you see Adam wearing the shirt with the yellow X on it, that's the Google X shirt. So it turns out if you want people to wear your merchandising and your shirts, get the good quality shirt.
Yeah, really soft.
Brilliant bit of merchandising.
Yes. Absolutely.
So good. So I'm going to jump right in and tell you I had a fantasy camp day last week in Los Angeles.
We touched on it a little bit last week, but we didn't get into specifics.
Well, no, actually a second fantasy camp day. Right?
Every day is a fantasy camp day in some way.
So we talked about, what we talked about was the fact that Tested was at the Paramount fan event for Star Trek Beyond. Mm-hmm. We saw Carl Urban, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Justin Lin, J.J. Abrams talking about the film. And then from that, I went to it's a secret conclave of nerds. I met up with a secret conclave of nerds.
The cabal of nerds.
Are you allowed to talk about this?
That's as much as I'm allowed to say.
Ooh.
And at the conclave of nerds, I met and befriended Michael Giacchino, the amazing composer of all of JJ's films.
You live a blessed life.
Michael is like the nicest guy alive, and we hit it off really well. And so he said, you should come to LA next week because I'm scoring the new Star Trek movie, and you can come and watch the orchestra play the theme.
So let's talk about his pedigree.
Yeah.
Because he has scored the past Star Trek movies.
Mm-hmm.
He did The Incredibles.
He did The Incredibles. He did all of Pete Docter's films.
Mm-hmm.
Just The Incredibles alone is one of the great scores of the last 30 years, probably since Raiders, maybe. I don't know.
John Landis said it's the best Bond score anyone's ever written.
It is.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. He did Lost, the TV show.
Yep.
And very
Alias. He started with Alias.
Yes.
Really?
And his beginning was he went to film school, then he went to Juilliard, then he was in marketing for years.
As one does.
Making a living like on the side doing composing for video games.
Well, video games, it turns out composing video games is hard because you need dynamic scores, which means that they then have to generate either tons and tons of music with these weird transitions or build a really complex software thing that blends the two performances. Guess what people usually do?
They do, yeah.
Yeah, the former.
Well, and so JJ played the games that he scored for. That's how they became associated.
I didn't know that at all.
Yes.
Wow. I gotta look up the IMDb and see what these games. Yeah, I want to get into
You keep talking
the mind of J.J. Abrams.
So So I got to go sit at Paramount and watch an orchestra. This isn't a spoiler alert. I'm not going to say anything about what I saw or the film or anything like that.
But this is the kind of experience that you usually get glimpses of in behind the scenes material for Blu-rays, and also there's a great Vimeo series where the Soundworks collection, I think it's called, where they interview the composers and the sound editors, and they go sometimes sit in these recordings, but you get mere glimpses.
Yeah.
What is that full day like?
So the thing I found most astonishing, and I guess I should have known this, is the orchestras are the first time they play the music is the first time they've seen it. So Michael writes the score, and sorry, I should get rid of my mitt. I can hear it in my voice.
People yell at you for that, I've found.
Sorry about that. Michael writes the score, and it's all these parts for a 90-piece orchestra, and they sit down and play it perfectly like the first time. I guess I should have known that, but for some reason it hasn't hit the portcullis of my knowledge.
Well, you think
they're that good,
right? Because you think of performers like musicians. One, in an orchestra, it's a collaboration,
Yes.
so you think they'd have to play off each other. And two, it's like acting, right?
Yeah.
Actors, they read their lines beforehand. They get the script. So if you get the music, the sheet music, it can't be like. How can that be?
It's incredible. And then what's really amazing is you're sitting in this. So it's a historical room. Jaws was recorded in this room. Shirley Temple used to make movies in this room. The tracks for the old sets are still in the ceiling. It's a legendary place, like any place on a studio lot. Like many buildings on the studio lot, this one has a tremendous history. The insane competency of watching the musicians do their thing is like a magic trick happening that 100 people are doing perfectly every single time
In sync.
But then you'll have like Justin will be like, hey, when the blah 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 does the blah blah blah, can the strings be a little more like din, din, din? And Michael will go, yeah, and then he'll push a button and be like, on 87 I want the strings to go mezzo forte. Right, like this whole language, and that's all he needs to say. And like the strings will all reach out and make a little tick mark on their scores, and then they get it right the next time.
But he's not like standing up in front of the
No, there is a composer. There is a conductor conducting the orchestra.
Okay.
So Justin and Michael are in the booth looking out the window. So that's where I started. I walked in and watched them doing that, and then Michael was like, you should go stand in the room. So I got to stand in the room while they're playing. And then,
So give me the layout here, because they're performing a score that's supposed to be in sync with scenes in the movie.
Right. So they have the movie playing. And it's playing on a big screen, and it's also playing on a screen at the composer's desk. And I'm not exactly positive how all this works beforehand. I was asking a lot of questions, but it's still an incredibly complicated process. But there are very specific moments in the film where the music has to hit a downbeat perfectly, right? And those actually have like a visual cue on the tape that is playing for the conductor.
So someone in the editing suite, whether it's Justin or his editor, they know like the beat. Okay, for this take, we need to have that cue so that when the note needs to drop here or
right. But you can imagine that if they want to do any kind of recutting, this wreaks havoc on the score they've already recorded.
But that's why they do the score last, right?
But supposedly last. The print should be locked because Justin locked it on the very night we did the Paramount event.
The fan event.
But at the same time, it's the movie industry, and maybe a preview audience doesn't like this scene. They got to pull it out, and all of a sudden, all this stuff changes.
And then they're still mixing after the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like when you record a rock and roll band, you go into a little studio and there's a box that they put the drummer in, and then everybody's kind of in their own room performing, even though they can all hear each other, so they can get isolated audio. They don't have 97 small rooms for the orchestra, everybody in the orchestra, right?
Yeah, no, they don't. They have a single large room, but people are in groups. And for instance, there are 2 horn sections at either side of the room, and that must be for audio spill.
Yeah.
The violins are all together. The basses, the stand-up basses and the cellos are all together. The percussionists are all in the way back behind not a wall, but there's like a barrier of glass to, again, hopefully sequester much of their sound so it doesn't spill into the other mics. And then it's not like everyone has an individual mic either. I don't think that actually
probably
could be
just
the
boom.
case.
Like I got to imagine they boom the horn section.
There's tons of booms.
How many? Look at that, like that track, right? If they had individual mics, or at least it's how many tracks that would be?
96 tracks.
So many.
Yeah,
90 tracks.
It is incredible how much is actually going on and how calm everybody is while they're doing it. It literally, it was so inspiring to watch. But even more, like they're just spooling it up. All right, we're going to go to scene 42B times 17. Great. Everyone ready? Yeah. And then we're talking and all of a sudden they're just playing and recording. And they're like, oh, we like that one. Let's do it again.
I keep on thinking about that scene in Forgetting Sarah Marshall where his character does the score for like a CSI type show.
Right.
And then he like plays the keyboard. Yeah. But this is on a much bigger scale.
Yeah. It was thrilling. It was absolutely an amazing, like I said, fantasy camp day. And then on that day, they were doing some recordings of the actual theme from Star Trek. So I got to hear a whole orchestra play.
Well, it's like in the end of
everyone in the building, even the whole orchestra, was like, "We can't believe we're playing this."
How long? Like this is a multi-day process. I assume.
Yeah, multi-day. I have no idea how long, but I mean, I was asking him. I was like, "On Lost," he was like, "Yeah, we had to do this every week."
With a full orchestra?
Uh-huh.
Holy
so
shit.
great.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That's
man, I have no
times
idea.
23 episodes a year times
7
years?
seasons. Yeah.
It's only an hour though, so I mean it's half the work.
Plus, no, there are
Holy
themes.
hell.
Plus, like
There are
like,
themes, yeah.
This being the third Star Trek movie, and for TV shows, you create themes for the characters. And for movies, there's the new Star Trek theme. There's like Spock's themes, Kirk's theme, and they'll have new themes created for the new characters. So things, there are some recurring patterns that come up. And even like when you talk about the original Star Trek song, it only came up in the end of the 2009 Star Trek movie with the credits sequence.
Yeah.
And that was their interpretation of it.
The Nichelle Nichols singing version?
No, not that version.
Okay.
But talk about what a great, that would be a great VR experience to put in that room, or for someone to play their own instrument along with a score.
It was
That'd be cool.
Slide whistle?
Yeah, you could be the triangle.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't knock the triangle guy. That's a hard job.
He has to get it right every single time.
Every single time.
The timpanist in this orchestra, John Williams' brother.
Wow.
The Williams are all musicians. Apparently, John Williams' dad was a major percussionist, and the other kids, besides John, he's the black sheep, being a
major
composer.
Percussionist. Sorry, sorry, Norm.
I wonder if the musicians, because they don't get to have that strong a bond with the music, if they are detached at all. Because if they're working on this just for like this, they have to move from movie to movie, picture to picture, it's completely different than, let's say, a Broadway musical.
Oh, right,
where they're playing the same thing, and then they can develop a relationship with the performers.
I see what you mean. The level of professionalism and yet also the thrill that the orchestra was getting at playing this music was clear.
And this is an orchestra that normally plays. It's the LA Symphonic or a normal. These aren't session musicians that are all called in from around the world.
No, this is a group that play together a lot.
So that's also part of the reason they can just walk in, pick up the music, and everybody starts playing.
Indeed.
Is because they know their idiosyncrasies.
And they're very facile. It was incredible.
So I looked at his IMDb page.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. So he did not just The Incredibles, but he also did Inside Out, which is I think my favorite of the Pixar scores with a bullet. It's just amazing.
And Up, he did Up as well.
Oh yeah.
The video games he did though were Medal of Honor and Call of Duty, the very first one, Black. So like that, if you think about that first Call of Duty, Norm, the one where they stormed Normandy, the one that was Saving Private Ryan, the video game.
Right.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love movie scores. I think they don't get enough appreciation. The one thing I wish composer, I don't know who decides this, if it's a composer, who names the songs? Because
you mean the spoiler problem?
The spoiler problem.
Oh,
because the studio always releases the score soundtrack listing, and it always gives away plot points in the names of the song.
It's a fairly esoteric problem. I mean, the other thing is that every Cinefex article about a special effects movie gives away the entire plot too.
But those usually come out after the movie.
No, actually, much of the
If you like the Force Awakens score, spoilers, by the way.
Han dies. Is the name of this song.
There's literally a track called "The Death of Han Solo."
Oh,
That's not it. I can't find it.
Speaking of The Force Awakens, it was a Abrams picture that Giacchino did not score because it was scored by John Williams, of all people. The consolation prize Michael got he got to play a stormtrooper.
That's okay. I would take that.
He has pictures of himself on set in the stormtrooper uniform and sitting in the cockpit. Of
I think
the
is he
Millennium
the
Falcon.
one that that they turn away when they do that
know.
when Kylo Ren does the rage bit? Maybe.
It's the Amazon MP3 tracks don't list the spoiler.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah,
Thanks,
for not
Amazon.
doing that. Yeah, your incomplete database saved us a movie spoiler.
Cool. I guess that's as good a place as any to wrap up.
It's a short
shorty. It's a little bit of a short. We can talk about something else if you want. You got anything?
You know what? We talked about 80s movies, and we mentioned Beverly Hills Cop that had Jonathan Banks in it as a henchman. And then I mentioned 48 Hours. I forgot to mention Jonathan Banks actually plays a cop in 48 Hours.
It all loops back around.
He plays the cop that gets shot by Gans with Nick Nolte's gun. And by the way, the villain in 48 Hours, can I just say he's still terrifying?
What was his? I can't remember.
He's played by James Remar, who is best known now by people as Richard, Samantha's boyfriend, long-term boyfriend on Sex and the City.
Okay, I got it.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to dial that one in.
He also has a bit role, not a bit role. He also has a medium-sized role in Boys on the Side, a movie from the not late 90s.
I think that's early 90s.
Early 90s.
Wasn't it like the dawn of indie?
Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to remember when Boys on the Side actually came out.
I feel like I saw that when I was in college in the college theater.
Could be.
It seems
Anyway,
apropos.
James Remar is also in that, but his first big role was playing Gans, the villain in 48 Hours, and it's terrifying.
What is his? Why is it terrifying?
He's at one point a hooker that he has just been with said, "Yeah, I got the feeling he'd rather shoot cops than get laid." Like that's his kink.
Wow.
Right? And that's what's clear.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
That's a good piece of writing.
Yeah, it is. It's a terrifically written movie for all of its terrible racial and sexual politics, as I said last week.
48 Hours isn't the movie that Jamie Lee Curtis was in. That's Trading Places.
That's Trading
right?
Places.
Okay. I always get those mixed up.
Trading
too.
Places also holds up perfectly and is shockingly. It's a masterpiece. Trading Places is really. I have nothing to say about it except it's except for the gorilla scene.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Forget about the gorilla scene.
Just we'll move over. We'll gloss over.
We're in the thick of summer right now. Are you guys going to find some time to watch some of the upcoming summer movies? I saw X-Men.
How is X-Men?
I liked it more than the Rotten Tomatoes score would indicate.
Oh, okay.
So how does it stack up in the new trilogy?
How did you like it? I loved Days of Future Past.
I thought it was super good.
Yeah.
Not as good as Days of Future Past, but he Bryan Singer unabashedly goes full 90s X-Men writing, like the way the comics were written back then.
Oh,
Yeah, like the way.
is that good or bad?
I think it's fine if you have fond memories of reading those comics. Yeah.
Oh, also, we've been talking about Gundam kits.
Yes. Yes.
And so I mentioned this at Comic-Con. Bandai has made some Star Wars kits, including a really magnificently detailed Millennium Falcon that's this big.
Really?
Yeah. It's gorgeous.
And is it all snapped together?
It is all snapped together. I want to do it as a one-day build because I'd love to do a paint.
Man, that sounds
spend
fun.
an hour and a half building it, and then 4 or 5 hours painting it.
Yeah, the problem with some of those kits is they don't sell them in the U.S. Like they have their release schedule in Japan.
I got
and
these on
then-
Amazon.
Okay, well, that's
for
the import.
$50 a piece.
Perfect.
Cool.
Or 48 bucks a piece.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they have a Y-wing fighter that is actually almost precisely the scale of the one I scratch built for Galoob Toys way back in the day.
Wow.
They
With the stumpy back.
yeah, Stumpy back.
I mean, yeah.
So-
I'm used to the Kenner toy, so all the Galoob thing. It looks like it has stumpy engines, right? They're shorter. The Kenner toy had
I
big long
see.
engines.
I'm trying to remember. It's
Anyway,
very
it doesn't
accurate
matter.
to the original.
Okay, good.
I don't know how that equates to the.
I'm sure the
to
Kenner
this
toy, they
toys.
were not accurate to the original, if I had to guess.
Did you ever have a $6 Million Man when you were a kid?
One of my youngest uncles had one. So when I went to my grandmother's, I used to get to play with it. He had that, and he had Oscar Goldman.
Is that the one where you could look through the head?
You could
Well,
look
if
through
he
the
had
head.
Oscar Goldman, he had Maskatron, because that's the only Oscar Goldman they revealed.
I believe he had Maskatron.
We talked about
Yeah, we have
Maskatron
talked
on the
about this.
podcast.
But yeah, I remember you could take like the covering off the arms and stuff and see the circuits inside the $6 million man.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's the tested comments where I realized I was educated that it wasn't Michael Ironside who played Maskatron, it was John Saxon, who is an actor who you'd know from Enter the Dragon.
Oh, right.
That John Saxon.
Yeah. He looks like Michael Ironside.
He
though.
looks
It's a
like
totally
Michael
fair mistake.
Ironside, who also looks like Peter Sagal. by the way. Or Peter Sagal
Looks like-
Peter Sagal, the NPR host, bears a somewhat of a resemblance to John Saxon
I
and
will
Michael
never
Ironside.
be able to listen to the show the
Yeah.
same way again.
I read something the other day that was awesome. The Max Landis has done a run of a Superman. I guess it's a side story, right? The American Alien thing.
I haven't read it.
So it's basically it's another origin story kind of, but it basically tells the story of it's worth reading. If you think Superman is interesting at all,
Okay.
it's a different take on Superman. I don't want to spoil anything. But
That's awesome.
it interacts with the Justice League stuff in a way that's not super comic booky. It stands on its own in a really nice way. And
Very
I think
cool.
that the run just ended with the 7th issue, but I'm not sure.
Awesome.
Hey, we're always taking recommendations. We'd love to hear
absolutely.
comics, movies, music scores. Yeah.
Man, Inside Out. If you haven't listened to the Inside Out score, it is so good.
I totally will now. I'm about to get on a plane, so I'll listen to it on the plane.
Highly. I mean, that's my favorite. One of my favorite things about having subscription music services is that I can go get any score I want at any time.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for today, I guess.
That's it for today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for listening. Norm, what's going on the site?
Oh, this week, yes, our Strong Beast video is up this week. We'll have more stuff. Next week is going to be busy for us. There's E3, and we might be doing some traveling with Adam. So I don't think we can talk too much about that yet.
Nope.
But
Come back on the 9s for another check of the weather and traffic. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everybody.
see ya. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Still Untitled. And I want to again thank the sponsor of this week's episode. That sponsor is Atlassian, makers of collaboration software that lets teams work and communicate better together. See how Jira, Confluence, HipChat, and Bitbucket give your team everything you need to organize, discuss, and complete shared work. Atlassian works help teams large and small ascend to new heights to create what's next. Visit Atlassian.com. That's Atlassian.com. Atlassian, helping teams everywhere team up. And see you next week.